Welcome to LSC. It's sports time. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Today I have with me Lindsey Bomba Holcomb, who is a boys volleyball coach over Bethel High School. Welcome.
Hello.
I'm glad to have you. You're going to shake my hand early, but that's okay. But you grew up on the peninsula, but not in the Hampton area. You were Pocosin.
Yes, sir.
And started playing sports. How young were you when you first started playing sports?
As long as you can hold a bat or hold a ball. I was playing t-ball, played volleyball with my mom, played basketball, played soccer, played everything.
Okay, now you played this through middle school and in the high school.
Yes. Well, in middle school, I found out that you can't foul out every game and continue to play basketball. So I had to give up basketball and found my true passion in volleyball.
Okay, were you very aggressive in basketball?
I was. I'm not good with contact sports and people knocking me down because I knock them back down. So, yeah.
But your passion became volleyball. When were you introduced to that? You said with your mother.
Yes, my mother played in college. Therefore, when I grew up, there was always a ball in the garage. So she taught me at a very young age how to pass and set the basics, fundamentals.
Because a lot of people don't understand you just don't hit the ball. It's where you hit it, where you set it up. There's a lot of strategy that goes into setting up the volleyball. And we'll get into that in a minute. But who are some of your teammates?
Meredith Hicks was a teammate of mine. Alexis Hanna. Basically, Pocosin's a very small school, so I was in band, and then I was in, sports, and those same people that are in every class are kind of a cohort, and you graduate with them. So it brought us really close together because we knew each other. Small school.
Your parents introduced you to sports, and you fell in love with being active.
Yes.
Because we're going to talk about some of the other things that you're doing. But you graduated, and you went to Old Dominion. Mm-hmm. You're not on a scholarship. You put yourself
No, ODU did not have a team, and they told me that I could get one together and sign a petition, get everybody to get on board, and then we could have a team. But I don't have any brothers or sisters or anything like that to do it for. And I was passionate about my business management degree, and then went on to another degree at the same time. So I didn't really have time for that. So I played outside at the beach.
Okay, now you played beach volleyball.
Yes.
Pro.
Now it is. Before, no. Before I was level B, and until I became a CrossFitter and became more passionate about the sport and trained, I now play at the professional level, the open division.
So your main job then on volleyball while you were playing was the setter?
In beach volleyball, it's everything.
Right.
You're only playing 2-on-2. So if the first pass comes to you, the second person's setting it and you're hitting. If the first pass comes to your partner, you're setting and they're hitting. So you have to be an all-around player.
You got to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
And the setting is, to me, I watch these kids struggle because they've only been doing this for 3 years. But I see them setting it, but they set it up sometimes to the back or to the middle, not up next to the net where you need to. That's where you want your people to set it.
It depends. If there's good blockers in the front row, you might set up the back row. Or if you're trying to run a play, you might set up the middle or the outside or the back. So there's different
strategies there.
Yeah.
Okay, you got your degree in business management, but you got a second degree in American Sign Language.
Mm-hmm. Interpreting.
Now, what inspired you to do that?
I sat in accounting class, and I was a straight A/B honor roll kid or student, and then I sat next to a deaf person and got an F in accounting because I just stared at the interpreter the entire time. So I was like, I'm going to do this. So in the meantime, while I'm getting my F, I'm realizing I need to go back to school again to seek out this degree in interpreting and sign language because I volunteered with the disability services, so I was her note taker.
Okay. All right, now, you graduated, got the 2 degrees. Did you immediately go over to Hampton or Newport News? What did you do?
While I was in college, I went into the business finance department in Hampton and tried to go that route of being an interpreter, but unfortunately I didn't have enough credentials to go that route, so I went to Norfolk and obtained some credentials and certifications, got my states, and then when I got my national certification, I came to Newport News.
What did you have to do to get that?
It's a very extensive certification. You have to have a minimum of a bachelor's. You have to take a very extensive test online. Once you pass that, you have an interview in front of a panel of people, hearing and deaf. Say, what would you do if you're going into a doctor's office and somebody says they're pregnant and you have to interpret for them, and the x-ray or the doctor says, are you pregnant? Well, your deaf client just told you they're pregnant. What do you do? So there's ethical considerations that you have to answer, laws and ethical guidelines. So it's very extensive to get that national certification.
All right, now you're over at Newport News, and what are you doing at Newport News schools?
Newport News school system, my main job is educational interpreter for the deaf. So I can work for the elementary all the way up to high school. And I'm also trying to start with Duke Conrad, the AD of all ADs. I don't know what his real job description is, but he and I are trying to work together and create a wellness program for faculty. Because if the faculty drink the Kool-Aid that it's important to get healthy and fit, then the kids will also drink that Kool-Aid.
Okay. Talk about CrossFit. Because you've got so many irons in the fire.
I do. I am a CrossFit coach at Oyster Point, CrossFit OP. One of my beach volleyball players said, come in and try this. I said, no, I play beach volleyball. I got this. And went in and did my first workout and about died. And I said, I love this. And my passion inside is teaching and coaching. And I said, why don't I just go back and get some more certifications? So now I'm certified in CrossFit Kids, CrossFit Gymnastics, CrossFit Level 1, Olympic Lifting certified. So now I coach, and I absolutely love it. So I do that on the side as well. And I apply that to the Bethel boys volleyball team as well.
Okay, so you went over to Bethel and became the first coach, as
Yes.
the boys coach, 3 years ago, because that's
Yes.
when they finally decided, hey, everybody else in the peninsula got volleyball, why don't we? So how did Bray Smith get a hold of you, or did you apply for the job? How'd that work?
Well, as a young child, I was already at Bethel often. My mother taught reading curriculum at Bethel High School, so I already had the rapport with the faculty there. I live close by, even though it's Newport News, you know how close they are together. So I thought, well, Bethel is my home, and I remember being young, and it's close to my house. Let me contact Ray. So I went in there, had the interview. You're hired, let's go. So that's kind of how it started.
Okay, 3 years ago, but last year, they didn't have a girls coach, so you coached both. Wow, let's say you CrossFit, you're working at Newport News, you're an interpreter, and now you're coaching two sports, basically. You're
Yes.
doing two sports.
Yes, it was very difficult. It was challenging, and I'm also a wife. So
So I forgot that there's another.
my husband is very supportive, and that's probably the only reason I could do that, because we're in charge of so much as a coach, and not having an assistant and not having a JV program is really a lot of pressure. And on top of those two teams, I also ran a JV team, kind of a starter program for the girls. So I kind of had three teams, and then my husband did the concession stand. So he's a big supportive person.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit, because I know you've got an assistant, Joe Pye, and I've known Joe Pye since the 70s. We
Yep.
go way back, but he's not paid. He's
Just does it
a
from
voluntary assist. Talk a little bit about Joe.
The first time I met Joe, I was running a practice, and I'm very, very structured in my practice. I can crack the whip. He comes in, he's like, hi, I have some cards here. I'm a coach. I said, well, come on in. He said, well, do you mind if I volunteer? I said, sure. This is an open door policy. I would love the help. We're trying to run this program by ourselves. And he said, I'll just volunteer. So I met him, and since the beginning, he's been stuck by me for 3 years. So we have a great relationship.
Talk a little bit about what he does.
He is a vet, and he also takes his dog and volunteers at nearby nursing homes, and used to be a bomb sniffing dog, is now
Right.
retired, and then brings them into local nursing homes and helps the community.
Well, Joe is a special guy.
He is a special guy.
Yeah.
We made quite the team. Hot mess.
Talk a little bit about your team, because no feeder program. You're going against schools who have been doing it for a lot of years.
Yes.
Talk about
Some of
what's
the
going
challenges
on.
that we've faced is, like you said, no JV program, no assistant coaches, and it's hard to see the football teams, and all these adults these are people, by the way, walking by, and you're like, man, they have a trainer, they have 5 assistant coaches, they have 4 volunteers, and I'm like, taking my hair out. And like you said, Western Branch is probably the strongest team in our conference. And I specifically had a conversation with the coach, and I said, do you have a JV? Do you have an elementary and middle school program? And the answer is yes, 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 yes. I said, who are these two people? Well, these two are my assistants. And I'm, oh, nice to meet you. And at the same time, I'm like, because I'm sweating, I'm doing my best to try to even, get a program or to even sell it to boys that it's not just a girls' sport, it's a boys' sport too.
Right.
In the meantime, we've done a great job of selling that, and
well, you've got probably the top team especially in the Hampton area.
Yes.
And one of the top in the district.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about some of the players you got on your team and what your goal is.
Well, we've tried to recruit, and Ray's done a good job because I'm not at that school. I'm at a Newport News public school, so if I was at that school, I could help recruit. So Ray's done a great job being a support in getting basketball players, soccer players, and even some football players that aren't playing football this year that decided to go the route of volleyball. So when you have those great athletes and they're already high jumpers and fast movers, all you have to do is just train them in that specific sport and sell it that it's a fun sport. So if the coach is passionate about that sport, it'll instill into those kids and they will work hard. And then they've seen the past programs where, 4 of my kids have already gotten full ride scholarships. So they're thinking, maybe I could do this too. Maybe I can go to college. So that's just really what it's all about, is selling it.
Right. Well, because when I first heard about the program, and I think you had 1 year, and then all of a sudden you got a kid that's got a full ride to a small college in Missouri. And guys said, well, it's in Missouri. I said, who cares? Somebody's going to pay you to go to college.
Exactly. What they thought they'd never get a chance to go to college, now they realize that they have a chance. They can go learn something. I mean, who cares where it is?
Oh, I can see the passion.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. So we're going to kind of wrap this up. I want you to explain how playing sports and how sign interpretation has helped you deal with the kids and the parents.
Well, being in the school system and being in that class environment with the interpreting, you have that classroom management skill, you know how to run a classroom, and you also have that rapport with the kids, how the kids work and what their language is. So that's really applied across the board for me coaching. And then the parents, I feel like I have a great relationship with the parents because all they want is communication. They want to know where their child is. They want to know that they're in good hands. So if you open that open door policy, give them your number, there should be no, in sign language, this is ambiguity. I couldn't think of the verbal word, sorry.
Well, I wouldn't know what it is. I thought you had an itch. I'm sorry.
No. And then also with the sign language, I'm able to run plays out on the sidelines, and some of my kids know sign language as well. So I'll be back there going, hitting the deep corner, or go line, So I'm communicating, they're learning sign language at the same time they're playing sports. So why not?
That's an advantage that you've got over the others.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming in. I want to thank you for tuning in to LSC and Sports Time. I want to thank my special guest, Lindsey Bomba Holcomb, who is the volleyball coach over at Bethel High School. I want to keep you informed on what's going on. You can turn in to LSC and Sports Time on Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, 7:30 a.m., 7:30 p.m. We've got a new show called Conference Countdown on at the same time. And we'll also have an area that Wube Gabre is going out to the schools and getting a Athlete of the Week. I'm your host, Bob Hintz. Until next time.
Hello, this is Lindsey Bomba Holcomb here, head volleyball coach at Bethel High School. You are watching LSC, all sports, all the time. Thank you.